coming towards the Chag of Purim, and we know that the Shabbos before Purim, we read from the Torah Parshas Zohar to remember what Amalek, the great Rishus, the terrible Rishus of Amalek, what he tried to do to us when we left Mitzrayim. That after the great Nisim of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, when the whole world saw the Yad Hashem, Amalek came and attacked Klal Yisrael. And on Purim, we again revisit that scenario when Haman HaRasha, who was Mizera Amalek, descended from Amalek, he also tried to destroy Am Yisrael. And Hashem saved us. Hashem saved us just as in the Midbar when he saved us from Amalek. And it's interesting to note that the first time that the Torah relates the inyan of Amalek, Parshas B'Shalach, that follows Kriyas Yamsuf, where the great nace of Kriyas Yamsuf, Amalek came, and immediately after that, it's followed by the Parsha of Yisro, where Yisro, as opposed to Amalek, where Amalek saw the great Nisim and attacked Hashem, Yisro heard of the great Nisim, the miracles that Hashem brought to Am Yisrael, and as a result of that, he was Megayer. So we understand the connection of the Parshas. However, in Sefer Dvorim, at the end of Parshas Kiseitze, the Torah says, Zohar es asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember, and that's a mitzvah part of Zohar, to remember what Amalek did to us when we left Mitzrayim, and immediately following that, the Torah relates the Parsha and commands us with the mitzvah of Bikurim. And what is the connection between Bikurim and Zechiras Amalek? We know that part of the mitzvah of Bikurim is when a person brings the first fruit of the Shivas Aminim, Shem Nishtapcha Behem Eretz Yisrael, and he brings it to the Beis HaMikdash and he gives thanks to Hashem. And the underlying theme is to give thanks, Shavach HaOdah, to the Ribono Shel Olam for the bounty, for the blessings that he gave us. But another concept in Bikurim is that the person should be cognizant and he should internalize that the blessings that Hashem gives us, those blessings are given to us even in the day-to-day activities, even in the acts of nature that surround us. When a person engages throughout the whole winter season, he plows his field, he plants, and the fruits start to blossom, and he now harvests the fruit of his labor. So he's at risk of feeling and thinking that it's my efforts, it's kaiche v'yotzim yodi, look what I've done, look what I have achieved. And it's not good there that the Torah says, no, your very first fruits, the very first fruit of your labor, that what you harvest, the very first you should bring to the Beis HaMikdash, to the Kohen, and give thanks to Hashem, and relate the history of Am Yisrael, and that Hashem brought us from nothing to give us this land, and this is the fruit that Hashem has given us, and the land that He has given me. We acknowledge, even after all of the efforts that we've expended, that it is not us, it is not our efforts, and it's certainly not simply an act of nature, it's an act of Hashem. That we see Hashem, we see His presence, not only in the great miracles, Lamala Miderech HaTeva, but we see the Yad Hashem, we see His presence even in the day-to-day acts of nature, in our day-to-day activities, in our daily activities. we constantly see the act of Hashem, we see the blessings, the bracha of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's diametrically opposed to Amalek. Amalek saw the great Nisim, the Nisim Geluyim, the great miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf, and instead of acknowledging the greatness of Hashem as the rest of the world did at that time, he said, no, it's an act of nature, and he's going to attack Klal Yisrael to demonstrate his lack of belief. We, on the other hand, we bring Bikurim. We show that we are not like Amalek. Not only do we see the Yad Hashem in the great miracles, the open miracles, we see the Yad Hashem in our day-to-day activities, and perhaps that's the connection between Zechiras Amalek and the Parsha of Bikurim. And Purim, the Chag of Purim, is where that was manifest. That the great Nes and Purim, where Haman thought he could control events. He thought he could control events and therefore wipe out Klal Yisrael. Hashem brought this great miracle within the natural order of events without a great open miracle, but it was demonstrated that through Teva, Hashem is controlling. Hashem controls history. Hashem leads and guides Klal Yisrael. Torah says, the very beginning, Bereshis bara Elokim. The Medrash says, Bereshis bishvil Reshis. One of the very purposes, the tachlis of the Bria, was Bikurim. What does that mean? What does it mean that that was one of the purposes, the tachlis of the Bria of creation was Bikurim, the mitzvah of Bikurim? There's so many mitzvahs. But one of the fundamental purposes of creation was to thank Hashem and to acknowledge that the Rebbeinu Shalom controls everything, and everything in this entire world is the act of Hashem. And that's part of the great mitzvah that we have, to thank Hashem and to acknowledge Hashem in every aspect of our lives. And certainly on Purim, when we thank Hashem and we internalize that message. And one of the ways or the paths to achieve that is to acknowledge that we are only a small part in all that goes on in the world, as opposed to the world at large that thinks, especially nowadays, where they can control nature, they can control events, they can control everything in the world. We, Am Yisrael, have humility, we're humble, and we acknowledge that it's from Hashem. And the key to that humility is to acknowledge that it's not Keichev Yaitzim Yadi, and to understand that we are all part of Am Yisrael, and to have the respect and the achva for Gans Klal Yisrael. And that's part of the Chag of Purim that we have Mishloch Manos, Matanas Ish L'Re'ehu, and how fitting it would be for this Purim if we make a special effort to be mechazik Bein Adam Lachaveiro, to acknowledge that we are all just individuals, a chelik of the Am HaNivcha, and that we are all dependent, Ish El Re'ehu, to make a special effort not to speak badly against any Yid, to be mechazik ourselves in Shmiras HaLoshen, to take upon ourselves to learn the halachas of Lashon Hara, Sefer Chavetz Chaim, etc., to foster Bein Adam Lachaveiro Ava V'achva V'reyus, and b'schus that, the Rebbeinu Shalom, Yehi Ratzon, that He'll bestow upon us Shefa, Bracha, Min HaShamayim, and we'll be able to see the Yad Hashem in every aspect of our lives, in the Nister, in the Nigla, Bevias Goyal Bimher V'Yamein.